Good morning, everybody. We're going to give folks about another minute to jump in, and then we will go ahead and get started. All right. Be respectful for everybody's time. We're going to go ahead and get started here. First, I want to just say thank you for joining us today. Today's fire service isn't lacking data. It's dealing with too much of it in too many places. Across every shift, critical information lives in CAD, staffing systems, training records, alerts, email, and even whiteboards in your stations. The challenge may be access to this information, but it's really about making sure the right information is visible at the right time across every station, shift, and crew. That's exactly what we're focused on in today's session, turning data chaos into clarity for fire and EMS operations. We'll walk through how departments are bringing CAD calls, unit status, staffing, training, and alerts into one unified real-time view, making it easier to keep your crews aligned across shifts without relying on multiple systems or manual updates. You'll see how departments are improving visibility across stations and shifts, reducing missed information, and making sure crews have what they need before, during, and after a call. With that, let's jump into introductions. My name is Stephanie Harvey. I'm the Director of Marketing here at First Arriving. My focus is really on how fire and EMS agencies can improve how information is shared and used across stations, crews, and day-to-day operations. My background includes public sector marketing communications, working directly with departments on how information flows and where it breaks down. Joining me today is Rob Kite. Rob brings over 30 years of fire and EMS experience, retiring as a firefighter and paramedic lieutenant with Prince George's County Fire EMS Department. While there, he also served as the admin of the First Arriving information platform, managing how information was displayed and used across stations and crews. Today, Rob's with us as a solutions engineer here at First Arriving, working directly with departments to implement and optimize how information flows in real-world operations. Thanks for joining me today, Rob.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the platform.
At the end of the demo, we'll have some time for a Q&A. If at any point during the demo you do have a question, please feel free to add it to the Q&A section. We'll also send you a copy of today's presentation. And with that, let's jump right into it. Rob and I are going to do a fun back and forth kind of Q&A style as we move through the demo. So with that, Rob, from your perspective, what are you seeing across departments today when it comes to managing information?
So with the fire and EMS service, there's so many software systems out there that being able to bring them all into one place with one single view is difficult. The First Arriving platform really gives you that opportunity. So a lot of the problems that are out there are not unique to big or small, volunteer or career. A lot of departments experience the same problems. Too many systems, no single central point to view all those systems. Crews are forced to really rely on radio, email, or verbal updates. The information that's out there, it exists. It's just a matter of being able to get to it when it's needed. And certainly there's inconsistencies between stations and shifts. That certainly can have an impact on day-to-day communications. And because of that, the impact is delays in the information, missed updates, or duplicate efforts because nobody's being able to really talk.
Thanks, Rob. Great response, and that's exactly what we hear across the board. As we jump into the demo, you can see it rotating now. I just want to level set expectations. This isn't about replacing your systems. It's about connecting them. We bring together over 130 different integrations into a single real-time operational view. So we're not offering any of this natively. We're taking your existing technology and pulling it in so your crews can see it across station screens, web, and mobile devices. Instead of those crews having to check all of your different tools like your CAD staffing, through a bunch of different resources, email, whiteboard, corkboard. It's all serviced and updated automatically in one place. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like in a department. You can see the dashboard in action. At a glance, crews can see who's on shift, apparatus staffing, unit availability, day assignments, and any key alerts or updates. Like I said, instead of checking a whiteboard, flipping through a binder, or playing the game of telephone, everything's as visible as soon as they walk in. As things change, call assignments, staffing adjustments, units going out of service, updates automatically and pulls from your existing technology. There's no need to rewrite boards or send out another email update. And the same view isn't limited to the station. It can also be accessed on tablets, mobile devices, web views for leadership. So crews can check updates even when they're not standing in front of a screen. As we move through the demo, you'll see me use this menu in the upper left-hand corner. While that's available on your boards as well, most departments keep their displays in a locked kiosk mode that just rotates through the information. The demo environment does include a wide range of information that you could display, more than most departments would really actually use day to day. The goal isn't to show you everything, but to highlight how departments can surface what's most critical to their operations and really keep it front and center. Rob, from your experience, what does this typically replace in a station today?
Well, certainly whiteboards. The story of it was written up there. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't see it on the whiteboard. So the opportunity to have a platform where that information is constantly available is hugely important. Some of the other things that it can replace: printed run sheets, rip and runs, daily logs, just verbal pass downs at a shift level. A lot of times there's a lot of moving parts at shift change, and some are going out on calls and some are not. So this really kind of gives you that platform where that information can still be disseminated to the personnel, but not necessarily face to face. It really also eliminates, the question of, okay, well, what's my riding assignment for the day? Where am I going to be? Because you can easily glance up at that dashboard and see what your assignment is. The information that is coming day to day, hour to hour, changes quickly. So being able to kind of keep up with that change and be able to put it out in front of the eyes that need to see it really changes the way that communication flows.
And what risks come from that?
Well, I mean, working on outdated information, you want to have that true live metric or that true live compliance, and not have to rely on a report being run later on down the road that would show those metrics, things like that. Missed apparatus or staffing changes. It's easily happening. Delays getting out the door, inconsistent communications between shifts. I know in my experience, we were really trying to improve on turnout times. And from that, we were seeing that data. It was 24, 48, 96 hours old. So it made it very hard to be actionable. So we wanted to really put it out in front of the eyes that need to see it and drive that performance to a better standard. And the dashboard system and the platform was the best way to do that, because we can do it live. We can put it out in front of everybody. And it absolutely accomplished the change that we were trying to make.
Awesome, Rob. And that's really the shift from chasing information to having it consistently available. This becomes the single source of truth across your department. Now let's look at what happens during an active call. Like I said, the content on the dashboard is rotating. When an alarm hits, doing a sample alarm here, it takes over the full screen with customized views. After a predetermined amount of time, the screen will return to rotation. Here you're seeing call information, route to incident map, units responding, and timer, all in one spot. We also have some alternative views of the alarms. So maybe you are more interested in a Google Street View, so you can see what kind of a structure you're responding to. Maybe you have some mapping information like a hydrant overlay that we can also display. aerial views. So options to really customize the dashboard based on what's going to work best in your department. Instead of crews piecing stuff together, they've got a full operational picture. Rob, from a command perspective, how does this change situational awareness during an incident?
Certainly, the incident starts as soon as you're dispatched to that incident. Um, Even before you do anything physically, you are processing the call, the information that's being received in your mind. Being able to start that size up and pre-planning in personnel immediately as that call is being dispatched is incredibly important. It certainly is going to give them that situational awareness. Um, you know, you can see the information from the call, so it's going to reduce any radio traffic that might be out there. Everybody's seeing the same picture. Everybody from command staff to the firefighter to the paramedic, they're all seeing that same information. So they know going out the door exactly what they're going for. Um, it really also provides kind of a faster and more efficient decision-making process from a command perspective because they're now seeing information that they didn't have the opportunity in the past to have right live and right in their hands. Um, Cuts down on a lot of the reliance of verbal relays. Having again that 55 or 65-inch TV in the apparatus bay or in the kitchen, wherever it's going to get the most eyes on it, um, really cuts down on just having to have verbal information that maybe is, as you mentioned, like the telephone game. It gets changed before it actually reaches the person. Um, so all of that plays together with better coordination on the scene. And ultimately, that's what our goal is. It is to, handle the situation, um, evaluate the situation, and correct the situation.
Exactly. Less time asking for information, more time acting on it. And that consistency across teams is what really improves coordination. It also isn't just about active calls. It's just as important day to day. So as the screen's been rotating through, you've probably seen our LMS section where you can see certificates expiring, upcoming training, assignments due, over assignments due. And it really allows you to get that information out of a spreadsheet or pulling a report from a third party to really create a clear view of what's happening in the department. It helps answers questions like who's due for training? Are we fully compliant? Where are the gaps? And it allows this information to be front and center. Instead of sending yet another email asking somebody to complete their training, it puts it out in front of everyone, and no one likes their name on the board. We apply color logic to highlight those that are overdue or coming up on deadlines to really drive home the need for action. I've heard it described a couple of different ways, like the wall of shame, but I will say the report is it's amazing how quick training gets done when their name's up there. And for officers and leadership moving between stations, that information is still accessible without needing to be at a desk. So, Rob, from what you've seen, where do departments typically struggle on the admin or readiness side?
Well, I would say certifications are tracked in a lot of different systems. It could be as simple as a spreadsheet that is on a station level, or departments may have a complete software system that's a learning management system. Unfortunately, those types of systems are a little bit siloed because it's usually at command staff or higher that sees all of that information. So the firefighters and the paramedics, they know when their certifications are up, but they're not being reminded of it daily. Being able to take that from behind those logins and put it on a dashboard or a platform where everybody can see it. Number one, I think really kind of, emphasizes that self-motivation that they need to continue, make sure that their certs are up and that everything is where it needs to be. Um, this kind of one of the big things that's going on out there right now is accreditation. So this certainly helps with that accreditation. Again, personnel being able to see where their certs were, where their expirations are, limited visibility across the department happens a lot. And so a lot of these messages about training and where your cert might be being sent by an email, which could go unchecked. Or, the excuse I didn't see it. I deleted my email by accident. Those excuses go away very, very quickly when the dashboard has all that information right out there. And again, it really promotes that personal motivation, because I know I never wanted to see my name in red.
None of us do. So, in addition to kind of the LMS, RMS, we also mentioned scheduling. So we can pull up different versions of scheduling. And I'd like to mention, we have some departments that are very high tech, but we also have some departments that are lower tech. And what I mean by that is you may still be tracking your schedule in a spreadsheet. And that's perfectly okay for probably where your department's at this point in time. But what we can do is we can take that information and still visually display it so that it has some structure and some organization, and again, is in front of those folks, not at a link that they've got to try to find anytime they need to figure out scheduling. Whoops. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So I just want to kind of walk through a couple of the other categories that we've got on the dashboard. One is going to be asset management. So again, looking at kind of those third-party integration partners, or if you're tracking these assets, like I said, in a more manual way, we can still pull that information up. It's going to kind of show you a couple of different views. A CBA, again, another way to look at equipment maintenance. We can also do narcotics tracking. A couple of other categories. Rob mentioned, unit status, unit utilization, turnout times. We hear, a lot that departments, shifts, stations are creating some friendly competition between those, where they can display that. In addition to that, I want to kind of just walk through a couple of the other categories. So those first few ones really tied to existing integrations, or spreadsheets, that sort of thing that you can pull that information from. Some of the other kind of more, I would say, built-in options within the dashboard are going to include traffic. So if you're in a congested metro or maybe near a highway, we can pull in traffic information. We can also pull in information like road closures, traffic events. I know we have a department who gets an email from their county DOT, actually pulls that information and visually displays it. Can also pull in traffic cams, whether those are moving cams or still images. Communication. So this is another one. I would think of this section as an area in which you're probably sending this information out via email and it may just be getting missed. So there's an opportunity to recognize folks. I like to call that kind of morale boosters, birthdays, anniversaries, new babies, promotions. You can also use this to showcase different information across the department, whether that's training information, whether that's new folks on the team that you want to recognize. Also really popular is the pre-plans with an SOP QR code, so you can walk up to it, scan that, and actually look at it. We also have the ability to do just updates to department news. You'll see here in this sort of first column, we can do RSS feeds from your local news station, social media feeds. We also have an integration with Fire Rescue One to pull in sort of recent articles. You also see the ticker along the bottom where you could do updated messaging there. You can also do sort of a full screen takeover if you've got a really important message that you want everybody in the department to see. Oh, we jumped into that one.
Stephanie, I wanted to mention about the communications portion of the dashboard. I think that's where we got the biggest buy-in from our folks, because again, things being written on the whiteboard, I didn't see that memo, it got erased, I didn't see my email. Being able to take those one-off messages and put it in a format that is visual, that is accessible is incredible. And certainly we see in a lot of departments, they'll have maybe a set of slides that goes to every single station that they have. And that's where headquarters is pushing out stats, maybe from the previous month, the busiest units, um, peer support, EAP information, QR codes, all of that can be pushed out and all eyes can see it. But within the dashboard system and within the platform, we also have that ability to have slides that are unique to a specific location. Um, Personally, that's where I saw the pride things being put in, the logo picture or the logos, pictures of crews, pictures of incidents, pictures of apparatus that they've had in the past. Really, what you see hanging in the firehouse, especially around the kitchen area. So being able to digitize that and put it out there and, again, get it in front of the folks all the time and give them an opportunity, an area to show their pride in their station and their crews, um, was key to really the system coming into place.
Awesome. Two other pieces I just kind of want to hit on. We can also pull information from third-party websites. So think about websites your department may be accessing on a regular basis. In addition to Esri maps and Power BI dashboards, this happens to be a wildfire map from Esri. Got some additional examples. Microsoft Power BI dashboard. So anything where you might be accessing, we can pull that information in. And then the last piece I want to mention is video. So we can also display video, whether that's at the beginning of a shift, whether that is a Friday update from the chief. We actually have a department, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Kansas City, where the chief does a weekly update out to their crews. So again, being able to connect with folks when you might not be able to get to every station or every shift really creates a more personalized connection as well.
And we maximize the use of this on a daily basis. We would have lunch and learns or working lunches or something, and somebody from the crew would go into YouTube or Vimeo, find a trade type video, and then it was just a simple copy paste play on the kitchen TV, and we had training while we were eating.
Love it. All right. Just a quick question that came through. Yes, this is being recorded and we will send out a copy to everybody. Last thing I want to talk about is customization. So the dashboards for the most part are completely customized to your operation, but different roles need different information. A firefighter doesn't need the same view as a battalion chief. A station screen doesn't need the same layout as the chief's office. And we really allow departments to standardize what matters to that department while still tailoring views based on role, station, or operational need. Rob, how important is role-based visibility in real-time operations?
Very important. I mean, crews need a simple, quick visibility. They don't need to be sitting behind a computer logging into 8 different systems to get information that's specific to them and what's going on for them right then and there. But at the leadership level or command level, they need to have a broader picture. So we have the ability to take the dashboard and expand it out. So a battalion chief, for example, could see all of the metrics for the stations that they're commanding live without having to go into any data assets or anything like that. Um, you know, the other thing too is get the information that's important out there. We didn't want to put a lot of filler into it because too much information can actually jeopardize and slow things down. So obviously, we don't want to go in that direction. The correct and precise information really improves the focus and the response of personnel, both from the people in the field, but also from that command staff. And everybody's working off the same sheet of music and keeps operations cleaned and aligned. And so, being able to look up at a 65-inch TV as a battalion chief and see how many of my stations have outstanding reports, that was huge. That was huge. But that same station is seeing that information that is specific to them. So again, that's another motivator for them. Like, oh, okay, well, I missed a couple reports. I need to get them done. And also that chief or that somebody in leadership is seeing that as well. So it just kind of serves as a constant reminder, like performance is everything.
100%. We're going to jump into Q&A in just a second. So if you've got a question, please feel free to add it to that Q&A box. But I want to summarize what you've seen so far. Our information platform connects over 130 different systems into a single view. I'm going to drop in a link to our integrations page so you can see all of the different integrations that we partner with and what those sample views are. It's also fully automated. So if you don't want to ever update the dashboard again, you don't have to. There are definitely tools where you could add messaging, videos, as Rob mentioned, but you don't have to. You can keep it as an automated system if that's what works for you and your organization. It's also built for real-time fire and EMS operations, not after the fact reporting, not that 48, 96-hour delay. And it's used by over 1,400 public safety agencies across the US and Canada. At the end of the day, you've got a system that's creating this information, pulling this information, but do you have a way to make it visible and usable? With that, let's jump into Q&A. I've got an open question, and I think this is perfect for you, Rob, as the former admin of a dashboard. Who has access to adding daily information? If it is a whiteboard replacement, can anybody add to the board?
It can. And you have different levels of permissions that leadership will assign. So, if somebody working in headquarters is probably going to have universal access to all of that information that's being pushed out there. But then those personnel on the station level may only have access to their slide deck, for example, or their spreadsheet to update training. So that's an easy way to be able to get that information out. And it's nothing more than really opening up a file and doing an update. So it can be done anywhere, any phone, any tablet, any desktop, any laptop. Those changes that you're going to make within the software systems that you are already making, that's going to talk to the dashboard directly as well. So your workflow is really not going to change. You're going to continue with exactly what you've been doing day to day, but that information is all going to be in one place for everyone to see.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. I'm doesn't look like we've got any other questions, but I'm going to give folks another minute if they do. Rob, I've got a question for you. When departments really start to implement and start centralizing this information, what's one of the biggest changes that they notice right away?
Just the lines of communications. You certainly a lot of times hear that the field feels disconnected from leadership or leadership feels disconnected from what's going on in the field. This platform is the best way to get rid of that problem, to really bridge that gap in communications. And again, there's nothing that there's so many things that need to be communicated on a daily basis. And if those are getting missed, that's going to change the way that performance is going to happen. So having that information, having it available, having it live, again, is key to that communications across all of the different levels.
Awesome. I do have a follow-up to the previous question. I recognize that you don't change anything, but do you have a best practices or a best of that can help a dysfunctional department do better?
Just be consistent. Um, you know, make sure that that information again is validated, is being received, and just be in contact with your people.
Yeah, I would add to that. Think about things that you, again, are probably sending in an email or a whiteboard. But the other piece that I think with that we see quite regularly is once folks implement the dashboard, they will also evolve, right? So your crews are going to be vocal about, hey, can we see this? Hey, can this get updated? We talk to a lot of admins that the crews are like, I want to see this information. How can we share this? Can we change the format? Can the screen stay up a little bit longer? And so I think as you kind of work through some of that, you also almost create your own set of best practices for what works for your crews and your teams based on the information that you know they need to share.
Yeah, I would say the majority of the dashboard design features that my department went with came from feedback in the field. And, you don't know what you don't know. So starting off very simple with a dashboard or with the user accounts is a great way to start. Because again, you're going to get that feedback. You're going to have new ideas. Things like that are going to come up. And that's a really easy solution to, the design process. And it's really nothing more than reaching out to support and letting them know, hey, we're entertaining this idea. Is it something that we can bring in?
Definitely. And I would say our support team and our dev team, they are quite creative when it comes to problem solving.
Absolutely. Yep. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, yes, definitely. With that, I want to plant a couple of closing sort of thought questions. As you think about your own department, how is information shared today across your stations and your crews? And more importantly, when an alarm drops, does everyone have the same clear picture of what's happening? That's really the shift from piecing information together to having it consistently visible and ready to act on. As we wrap up, I do want to mention, because it often comes up, is pricing. I would say compared to most public safety software that you've probably gotten a quote on or priced out, departments are often surprised at how accessible the information platform really is. For example, a standard single station board starts at around $899 per year, along with a one-time setup fee. From there, it scales based on the department size, the number of boards you want to have within those stations, along with your customization. And really, that's why we want to walk through it in more detail with you during a personalized demo, and how broadly you want to deploy it. Oh, yep, I've got another question. Can we talk about the app that goes along with it? So everything that you've seen today, all of these items that are on your dashboard can be part of what we call our user account. So that's an individual access, login, password. They can see all of that same information. It all pulls. The only exception with that is going to be your alarms. We don't pull that information. We know that folks typically already have that somewhere else in an app. You definitely don't need that going off twice on your phone. There's also some additional functionality within our user accounts. We have Platform Connect, which is going to be a list of links that are most accessed. Think of how many times have you answered the question, hey, what's the link to the scheduling platform? Again. We also have a document library. So think a great place to store all of your SOPs, updates, one kind of centralized place where all of that information lives. And then also you can also send out messaging through the user accounts. Rob, did I miss any functionality on user accounts or anything you'd add there?
I would say the thing I like the best about the app is when a message does get pushed out or a new SOP or SOG gets pushed out, you can require your personnel to acknowledge that. So again, now you're making sure that that information is being received. So at a glance, you can look and see, okay, I sent it to 20 of my personnel and 12 of them have acknowledged it. So, you know, again, it kind of minimizes those excuses of I didn't know about it, I didn't see it.
Definitely. All right. Great questions today. Thank you so much for the folks that have submitted those. With that, the next step really for you to get a personalized demo. We can learn more about your department, about your goals, review the systems that you're using today, give you some examples of how we have displayed that information for other departments, and really showcase how this comes together for your environment. We can set that demo up for you at firstarriving.com/contact, or you can email us at getstarted@firstarriving.com. As I mentioned, you are going to receive a recording today with a copy of today's presentation, so you can revisit it, share with others on your team. And I think with that, Rob, I want to thank you again for joining us and providing that sort of firsthand insight, especially as a former admin and as our solutions engineer, which Rob wanted to let you guys know, it's not a sales role. It's a fun role where he gets to talk to departments and actually help build out these dashboards. So again, thank you so much for spending some time today with us. We really appreciate it. We look forward to the opportunity to partner with you and to better the communication across your department. Enjoy the rest of your day and please stay safe.